G'day guys, Simon Chapman here from Speedcafe.com, and today we're here at the Gold Coast Motoring Museum to check out some of these awesome vehicles on display. But before we do that, we're going to preview the Ned Whiskey Tasmania SuperSprint. This is RYCO filters clearing the air. Before we get into Tasmania, let's have a look back at the first round of the championship at Sydney Motorsport Park. It was a fantastic outing for Chaz Mostert, who ultimately came out on top in the points. First blood went to Shane van Gisbergen though, who came out on top of Anton De Pasquale in the first race. In the second instance, it was Chaz Mostert who managed to beat Brody Kostecki, who grabbed his first pole position in the RYCO Supercars Championship. Kostecki was obviously the standout for Erebus Motorsport at Sydney Motorsport Park, getting that first pole position in his supercars career. It'll be interesting to see how he goes at Tasmania. Obviously Will Brown last time out last year had a really good showing there, but Brody not so much, so we'll see if they can continue that momentum heading to Symmons Plains International Raceway. In between events, obviously there's been a fair bit of news behind the scenes, especially around Gen 3. We were supposed to have obviously the Gen 3 cars testing at Winter Motor Raceway at the beginning of this year. Obviously that didn't take place. Some changes to that car obviously with the stick shift being put into the Chevrolet Camaro and Ford Mustang, and then obviously as it later played out, some ergonomic changes as well. So they have had a bit of a shakedown at Queensland Raceway, at least in the instance of the Chevrolet Camaro. The Ford Mustang will have its first hit out with the changes at Symmons Plains International Raceway. Some of those changes obviously to the ergonomics are sort of moving the firewall around and the seat positioning in the pedal box to make things a little bit more comfortable for the drivers. Garth Tander and Marcus Ambrose will be the first drivers out onto Symmons Plains International Raceway in the Chevrolet Camaro and the Ford Mustang, and they'll even take some passengers for some rides over the course of the weekend before some proper testing takes place in earnest on Monday and Tuesday. In other news, fantastic for supercars fans that the Adelaide 500 is set to come back later this year. Peter Malinowskis winning the South Australian state election for Labor, coming out on top a Liberal, and Liberal conceding fairly early in the night's proceedings. Supercars have obviously committed to the Adelaide 500 being the last round of the 2022 championship on December 1 to 4. We still need to wait and see who's going to promote that event, what that event's sort of going to look like, but by all accounts it sounds like it's going to be the Adelaide 500 that we know and love. Potentially some talk of some big concerts, big name acts supporting that, and also some interesting support categories as well. So we're looking forward to obviously closing out the season on the streets of Adelaide. But there is one big question though, as far as what happens to the Newcastle 500. There was a lot of chat about Perth and Winton in terms of COVID-19 and how that would sort of impact their place on the calendar, but as it stands it looks like Winton is firm, as is Perth. So does Newcastle happen this year? We'll have to wait and see. Still need to get some comment from Supercars about that. There's been a little bit of movement in co-driver land as well in terms of Brad Jones Racing, who has confirmed that Dale Wood will join Andre Heimgartner in the R&J's Battery Holden ZB Commodore. Jordan Boys is going to join Macaulay Jones, and meanwhile Dean Fiore will join Bryce Fullwood. We still need to find out who Jack Smith will pair up with. Looks like he's going to get a new co-driver in 2022. This weekend marks the 49th event for the Supercars Championship at Symmons Plains International Raceway and the 100th race for Gary Jacobson since his first start in the RYCO Supercars Championship in the 2017 Sandown 500. Another milestone which we might see eclipsed this weekend is that of Shane van Gisbergen, who currently sits on 55 race wins. He could edge ahead of Scott McLaughlin and Garth Tander, who both sit on 56 race wins apiece. And you'd probably put money on Shane van Gisbergen being able to do that this weekend because Triple Eight have been super dominant at Symmons Plains in years gone by. In the past 17 races, they've won 13 of them. Obviously, Jamie Whincup was fairly dominant in that period. In the entire time that he's competed at Symmons Plains, he won 13 races. So obviously, Jamie's not here anymore. Brock Feeney taking his place, but surely you'd expect to see Triple Eight up the front there this weekend. Speaking of Brock Feeney, this will be the very first time that he races at Symmons Plains International Raceway. Didn't even get the opportunity to do it in the 2 years that he competed in Super 2, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes after those 9th and 11th place finishes at Sydney Motorsport Park. So heading into the second round of the RYCO Supercars Championship, it is Chaz Mostert who leads proceedings ahead of Anton De Pasquale and Shane van Gisbergen. Triple Eight have typically dominated proceedings at Symmons Plains, so it'll be interesting to see how that team goes and all of its customers. All right, well that concludes our preview for the Ned Whiskey Tasmania SuperSprint. Make sure you tune into Mobile One live updates on Speedcafe.com and check out the R&J Batteries Guide. All right, let's go have a look at some of these awesome cars.
The Nissan Skyline R32 and R33 GTRs are legendary performance cars that make big power, so maintaining their RB26 power plants is important. Many owners go for premium engine oil, but now RYCO has developed a premium oil filter called Syntec for your turbo engine. It removes 99.8% of contaminants and features synthetic nanofiber filter media to ensure maximum oil flow. It also includes a silicon anti-drain valve that keeps your oil filter full of oil between startups. Ask your mechanic for RYCO Syntec.